Greetings, my fellow travelers. My name is Xylo, your cosmic narrator, and this is Higher Strangeness. Thank you for joining me. This is a broadcast where we smoke fine flavors of cannabis while discussing topics such as UFOs, aliens, the paranormal, ancient civilizations, conspiracies, spirituality, and of course, our electric universe. You don't have to smoke with us to come along on our odyssey, but I guarantee that if you do, you're going to have a lot more fun. A little bit about me before we move forward. I grew up in a very creative and open-minded household with parents who encouraged me to ask a lot of questions and then to ask even more questions. My parents revealed a universe where meditation, energy healing, and spiritual awareness were subjects worth teaching and knowing, along with gardening and cooking. Go figure. They gave me my first book on ancient Egypt, and that pretty much did it for me. After I was handed off to this other world, I started reading the works of Joseph Campbell, Graham Hancock, and began listening to Coast, all while I was just a kid, a gateway which ultimately opened my mind to infinite possibilities. I've had numerous personal close encounters, paranormal experiences, and a handful of very powerful awakenings during my journey thus far, which I will gladly share with you at some point, and which ultimately led me here, again. This is not my first show. I've had a couple prior. Both of those shows were moderately successful, but I felt they weren't capturing the true nature of my pursuits. Thus, here we are. That's about it for now. You'll learn more about me and you along our journey together. I think that's a good start. So tonight is a special night since it is our maiden voyage. Therefore, I'm going to pick what I consider to be an energy-boosting sativa to pair with our topic, which happens to be about our electric universe, how it affects you, the climate, and your place in it. The flower I'm smoking tonight is called Green Crack. It is a very pure strain of sativa, providing focus and invigoration. It's one of my favorites. You can check it out on Leafly, which is a great place in general to learn about different cannabis strains and their multitudinous health benefits. And there are many. Don't be a cynic or worse, a dunce. Please educate yourself. I'll have an episode on that soon as well. So really quickly, for those of you unfamiliar with the difference between sativa and indica, think of indica as being indicouch. In other words, you're definitely going to want to chill. It has a much slower vibration. While sativa, on the other hand, is what I like to call a creative high, providing a lot of energy and focus, particularly for me. Not the same for everyone, but that's why I tend to gravitate towards sativas. So without further ado, consider this. We live in an electric universe, teeming with life and curious intelligences. To think for a second that we are not part of that community, that we are not influenced by that community, that we are not active in that community, well, I think you're doing yourself a great disservice. Earth is not an island, and neither are you. I have a couple quotes here I would like to begin with that will set the tone for the rest of the cast. Quote, "From the smallest particle to the largest galactic formation, a web of electrical circuitry connects and unifies all of nature, organizing galaxies, energizing stars, and giving birth to planets, and on our own world, controlling weather and animating biological organisms. There are no isolated islands in an electric universe." David Talbot and Wallace Thornhill. And here's another. Quote, "Energetic events cannot be explained by local conditions alone. The entire circuit is involved. For that reason, electric universe theory emphasizes connectivity with an electrically active network composed of Birkeland current filaments threading through the cosmos." Stephen Smith. If you've never heard of these guys before, I implore you, check out the Thunderbolts Project. Those 15 minutes you spend on their website reading will be the most enlightening 15 minutes you engage in all week. Trust me. So think about that for a second. Take a long, hard hit if you need to. I'm about to. I'm not very high yet. Those words harken back to the old adage that everything is connected. Like a web, everything and everyone is spun inside it and thusly affected by it. And now, finally, we are disclosing the science that proves that very ancient and sapient belief. If we are indeed riding Birkeland currents through an electric universe, and at every Z-pinch there is a galaxy, a star, or a cosmic anomaly, then it goes without saying that those electric currents would be an inexhaustible influence of energy, indispensably affecting our planet's weather through either the cycles of the sun, the waning and the waxing of our magnetosphere, the shifting of our poles, or even at the most basic levels through changes in our atmospheric pressure. We are on the precipice of immensely important and enlightening knowledge. What happens over the next decade is going to profoundly influence our next 1,000 years, hopefully sending us along a way better course. Will we allow paradigms to fall? Will they fall because we have no choice? What will the world be like if they do fall? How will we adapt? How will we thrive? What strides will we take to make Earth a better planet with proper fellowship, truthful teachings, and honest leadership, if indeed we even need leadership anymore? I truly believe that an equitable civilization leads itself without leaders. I think humanity is ready for a dose of sincerity, even if it means we have to go through acute growing pains in the process. Is pain not the most efficacious educator? Picture this. The sun cycles down into a grand solar minimum, as it is doing right now, and as it has done innumerable times before. The planet gets cooler, wetter, the weather more volatile. Poles shift enough to cause some sizable stirrings across the planet, to say the least. The magnetosphere wanes, which are two more topics we'll need to cover soon. Crops are lost, people are displaced, hunger ensues, and uncertainty prevails. And why? I'll tell you exactly why. Because we are a disconnected and disjointed civilization. Everyone is greedy, therefore no one can agree. Global warming is a charade, which has been greedily perpetrated on the world and in the process has in reality disconnected us from each other, the planet, and the galaxy, rather than bringing us together. It is one of the most egregious examples of propaganda we have seen in our generation. When you band together and demonstrate in the name of global warming, you are actually feeding the plutocratic and oligarchic beast that plans on collecting trillions of dollars from you. You are impassioned to believe that CO2 is actually harmful for the planet, and therefore must be diminished and eradicated at whatever the cost, or the planet will burn up and we will all die. And what is the cost? Well, the truth is the cost. Because if you knew the truth, how could anyone take advantage of you and get rich in the process? If you knew the truth and followed these cycles, you would already be prepared for what is actually coming. If everyone's divided and enraged, they're easier to manipulate and ultimately control. If you want to march for the planet, don't do it in the name of CO2. CO2 is just plant food. We all learned this when we were children. This wicked sleight of hand is only a ruse to tax you and control the global energy economy. Instead, march in the name of pollution. Chemical fracking, radioactive isotopes, tainted runoff into our rivers and oceans, plastic has way more effect on the health of the planet than CO2. Way more effect. If everyone was unified behind the right causes, the villainy behind the wrong ones would no longer exist. The sun is responsible for this planet's weather. Its cycles have built and destroyed empires for thousands of years through planetary warming and cooling events, and will continue to do so long after we are all dust. The Sahara wasn't a desert thousands of years ago, and Antarctica wasn't always so lonely. I mean, come on, everybody knows this. Climate is cyclical, and these powerful shifts in weather, they happen all the time, going back thousands and millions of years. They may seem unprecedented in your short lifetime, but during the lifetime of the planet, they are utterly common and monotonously consistent. The trillion-dollar question is, are you prepared for the right transition or the wrong one? So here's my disclaimer for those of you who will wag a finger speculating on my agenda. The truth is, we have not been good stewards. We have polluted the planet and abused our position as creative, intelligent hosts. We have tainted the water, the sky, outer space, and even each other. But it is simply not because of CO2 that the climate is changing. It is the sun. I beseech you to research these facts on your own, and the information you find will astound you. I have no political motivations. I am perfectly anti-political. Our leaders have disavowed us so many times, I am genuinely surprised people still vote for them. But that's for another dialogue. This electric universe is the true nature of our solar and thus planetary cycles, and the true nature of why the weather is turning the way it is. And until you wake up and you recognize this, you're going to have a very, very hard time of it. Coming to that realization is going to be tough. It is at this juncture in life that you must prepare for what is coming. The climate is changing. There is no doubt about that. But the cause and direction is not what the majority is telling you. It is time to learn the truth and figure out what you and your neighbors are going to do about it. When the weather rapidly changes in your region, will you be ready for it? Or will you be too busy chasing after the ghost of global warming? Will you know how to grow your own food, how to preserve it, hell, how to cook it? I don't know too many people with all those skills, but I do know this: you better learn them. Because as the planet drastically changes, there are going to be more and more power outages and less food, and communities are going to have to become self-sufficient again. Our ancestors knew these facts. They followed the cycles of the sun and attempted to pass this knowledge down to us on scroll and stone to prepare us for the trials that they knew our world would face again. To warn us. I don't want to tell my children one day that we were too stupid to learn to read. Or worse yet, we destroyed those texts. Embarrassing. If you truly want to be impassioned by something, learn the facts and spread the knowledge. The truth will bring people together rather than polarize them, as is the case in our world now. The sooner we make the connection between earth, spirit, and cosmos, the sooner we will evolve and begin making the right choices. So my epilogue. Study this phenomena. It is essential knowledge for your survival and your spiritual wealth. It's not hard to find the information. There are people out here like myself who have been researching these topics for years and who have already done a lot of the work for you. I've included a short list of sites and other channels that will assist you if you choose to proceed, and I sincerely hope you do. You have been raised to be a slave. From the minute you were born, you were fed bad food and bad information. But you have the power to change that, the power to change your life. And all it takes is a little more effort than putting on your shoes and walking to work. Learn, share, love, contribute. That is what it means to be a soul on this planet. Why do you think you're here? To work a job 60 hours a week? Acquire absurd amounts of debt? Get flabby and out of shape on bad food while you quickly become an indentured servant, spending the only time you have trying to create false wealth, all the while making inane Instagram and TikTok posts? Well, then you're ignoring the world and what it truly offers you, and you will not identify with your place in the cosmos. You will be lost, you will be polarized, and you will be angry for all the wrong reasons. You must wake up. Please, I entreat you, wake up. Explore the world with new eyes. Don't regurgitate everything you are told, and especially, please don't get all your news from social media. Ask questions. It took astronomers hundreds of years to finally abandon the geocentric model of the universe. And doctors once told you that cigarettes were good for you, a great after-supper indulgence. The first is a glaring example of unsound science, and the second a blinding example of corporate science. How soon we forget these blatant falsehoods throughout our history. To have answers and believe we are being told the truth, it creates a sense of security. No one wants to be lied to. But it is because of that inherent need to trust that we fall prey to the charlatans and idiots alike. Sad. Understand where you have come from, how you are connected to it, and where it will ultimately take you. Make the transformation. Your conscience and your consciousness must be whole. They must reflect and work in tandem. The Greeks had a word for this. It was called sunaidesis. Look it up. Be the sun and all will see you. Fyodor Dostoevsky. So to wrap things up, for every cast I make, I'm going to give you what I call a little nug of knowledge, a factoid you can pack in your pipe and hopefully, like a good bowl, share it with your buddies. Did you know that during the 1930s, the planet went through a historic and unprecedented heat wave, unlike anything we have seen in modern days? Nothing during your lifetime even comes close. It was the Dust Bowl era that literally plagued the United States for years with unrelenting hot spells, crippling droughts, widespread famine, and all during a horrible, horrible economic depression. And if that doesn't do it for you, check out the Great Famine and Worldwide Heat Wave of 1876 to 1878, when somewhere between 20 and 50 million people died. It was so many and so bad they couldn't even keep track. Puts pretty much all other modern day records to shame. I wonder what the CO2 levels were then. So what happens when you go through an ice age during a depression? Well, don't be surprised when your favorite can of corn isn't available at your local market and we have negative interest rates, which is what is about to happen. You're probably asking yourself, why are scientists and the media not telling us these things? Well, they are showing you charts, just not the entire chart. We'll cover more of this in another cast soon, but for the meantime, I'd like you to put that in your pipe and smoke it. I would like to thank my art collective and colleagues here at Music of Wolves, the best clan of creatives I could have ever asked to be a part of. Earthship, our self-sustaining Earth campaign focused on communities and gatherings. More on that soon. Magic, the best organic cannabis this side of the Mississippi. Vimana, the events arm of our collective. And finally, Scorpio, who provides us with all our cool music for our show. Like them, I am here to share, advise, and to help you prepare for what is coming, all the while attempting to entertain you during the process, which I hope I was successful in doing. Please like, subscribe, and share. We are a spirited community of artists and practitioners who humbly hold out our hats. Dona da Gohai, or until we meet again.